Okay, so this here is my Kawasaki dirt bike. It's a 4-stroke 110. I bought this, I think, actually my parents, I think my grandpa and my parents bought it for me. I didn't pay for it. They just bought it for me as a gift for it. Because I'm kind of the future worker of the farm, so they just bought it for me because I wanted one. I wanted one at the time. I don't really like motorcycles now. The thing has its ups and downs, so let's talk a bit about it. I've hardly ever talked about this bike. So when I got it, it was looking perfect. The electric start worked on it, and the front brake worked. And the front brake has been fixed. I've taken it to a mechanic before I knew how to work on stuff. And the front brake's been fixed a few times, and I gave up on it. All it does is twit. So I just cut the cable off of it, and then I guess it would have been a couple of guards here, and there would have been a front brake handle. And then I think I took the front brake handle, or this thing here, from there, flipped it over, put it on here. So now I have a clutch, and I actually really like this clutch. It's so that you can continue holding the handlebar, just get 2 fingers on it. I like that a lot better than the original design. And then, yeah, this gas cap's actually a Honda gas cap that we got, because it has a little, what I like about the gas cap that came with this was kind of a bit weird, small. What I like about this one is you can't over tighten it, and then it doesn't get stuck on there. And then I had to fix this line there that tore, and I had to fix and then the electric start, something happened with the battery. The battery fell out, ripped a bunch of the cables out. So at that point, you know, I couldn't figure out which cables went where, so I just bypassed the battery, bypassed the starter. So and also this thing is broken. I mean, yeah, you can fix that with parts, but I didn't want to put money into it. And then I did get the kill switch going, so the kill switch works. And I put this basket on here. Normally there's a little white thing there, but there's a little, whatever you call it, a little tapped area. So I got a nut on there, hold the basket on there. And I got a new fender recently. The front fender broke. I remember I made one out of cardboard for it once, but I got a new fender for it. I don't use it that much anymore. And then this thing was stripped, so I had to fix that. This thing works now. And then the exhaust rusted out right there. I mean, it goes all the way like that, and then the exhaust comes out here. But I thought it'd be fun to make my own, so I made one out of pipe that we bought. It was stainless steel, but it burned off the coating because of the heat. And that's a good design right there. I mean, it's kind of loud. It's louder than it should be, but I kind of like that because it's like a chopper. But yeah, so the exhaust just kind of disappears down there. I kind of like that design. It's not bad. It's easy to do. If I ever sell this, I'll just put a bunch of money into parts for it. And then the most unique thing about this is I extended the frame with this. So this is angle iron steel frame, because the original exhaust mount broke off, and then I cut the original back of the frame off because it was too short. And I think all motorcycles should have a fender like this, because that way you can grab it, and then you can lift this up, and then you can, you know, I've carried this on the tractor before, because I needed to leave the tractor on a job somewhere, and then you put this on the front of the tractor, and so I just welded up. Take his seat off. That's a cow. So what I did is I welded angle iron on the frame and painted it. So there's, you know, I just welded that up there. I welded it underneath, and then I just put a thin sheet of steel on here and painted it really nicely. And then I made a little curve back there. So there's a little curve. And that makes a great handle for like grabbing it and moving it, or if you got spikes on the tractor, put spikes under it. So I think that's a good fender, because now the frame of the motorcycle's back here. And I actually also made a toolbox to go on this, so you bolt the toolbox on. And I actually don't want it to make this longer. Like, I could have made it so it went maybe down a little bit, and then it could have been longer. I could have made it maybe like that, but I think that's a good length. And other people should maybe use this on a motorcycle to make it more of a utility machine. And it burns oil. I think the engine needs, I think it needs a rebuild. Still runs fine, but I think it, also the oil plug is stripped a bit. I have to use plumber's tape to hold that on. Not to hold it on, but to hold its seal. So, I don't know, this bike may not, it's not really worth selling. Everyone telling me to sell it, but, because it's way too small for me, because I'm 16. But I don't think I'm going to sell it. I think it's just going to stay here until it dies. But I don't think they paid that much for it. They paid maybe $800 or more. Well, it's not a decent, it's probably a decent price for this used. So the front brake no longer works. The back brake works. I've driven it before with the back brake not working. And then I took off this back drum assembly. Actually, also we replaced the tire. Got a new tire for it. That was before I got, recently I just got a new rear hub assembly. I couldn't figure out how to put it back together. I blew bearings in the back. Couldn't figure out how to put it together. So I actually just took that to the dealer, and they charged $600 to put they changed the bearings. This part here, the main thing on that side is new. The old one had a hole in it. It was cracked or something. So they got it all fixed up. So, some stuff I just don't fix, and I let the dealer take care of. But most of the time, I try to fix it myself if I can. And one thing I hate about this is the chain is always loose. That's one thing about motorcycles is the chain is always loose on them, because the front and rear sprocket, they were replaced, and it seems like you have to replace them every year. Because I don't know, they just, they get in the mud and you forget to lubricate them, and even if you do, they still get in the mud, so. That's, what would be good is if a motorcycle had a little gearbox here and a drive shaft and then another gearbox. Then that would probably last a lot longer. But they don't do that, and then I bought a new shifter. The old one broke. And at one time, I took a shifter off of a old Honda 4Trax that my grandpa had down there, Parts Squad. It actually, some of the Honda parts fit these Kawasaki. So I got that Honda gear shift. So what I did is I took this off of the old quad down there, the Parts Quad, and I took that off. And what was really funny is, then I had it up here like this, so it went up like that, or it went back, so then you'd use your, I think it went like this, so then you change gears with your hand, and that was like, I felt like I was driving a motorcycle from 1920s, where you change gears with your hands. That was funny. And then I bought this, and this is all bent in, but that's one thing I hate about these, is they just get bent all the time. But I mean, there's probably aftermarket parts that have this thing that folds back, but I don't really use this thing anymore. And then these side panels kind of just fell off, and I think I have them somewhere. I tried to make some, but I gave up. But this is the only thing is this here is a problem. So it should have the side panels back on it, but I can't really find them. I don't know where they got to, and I think they're broken. And then the most recent fix I did to it was, I made a video on this. I welded up that area there, because it actually broke off. There's a video on my channel, one of the first videos. I just welded this whole thing, that of the handlebar just broke off. Most people would replace that, but I just welded that up, and then I welded this side up, strengthened that. So that fixed that pretty good. And it's not, handlebar's not straight anymore, but it's still comfortable. And then I got new grips for it, but it didn't turn out the best. This side did really well. This side is a little loose, but I'm glad I got new grips on there, even if they're a little bit weird. But other than that, it's a tough bike. I don't know. I don't really abuse this too much. I try not to, but sometimes you fall off of it and then it just drops and it's a heavy bike. But it still works, and so we're going to take it for the first ride of the year. So, yeah, so everything that works on it is... Actually, let's just go through everything that doesn't work. So the front brake and the electric starter. Well, actually, the starter works, but it doesn't have a battery, and this switch is a problem. And I had a light on here at one point, but then I took it off to put the basket on. And the back brake works okay. It seems fine. The kickstart works. So I kickstart it, but yeah. And the kill switch is okay. So it's not the best, but it's not too bad. Wonder what year it is. It's probably a 2010 or maybe a little earlier. So it's kind of not, it's not young. It's getting a bit old. But it still works good, so may as well take it for a ride. Put this basket on this quad, so I got bungee cords under there to hold it on the side, and the back, and the other side. And I found this box at the other property. This is a good little toolbox. Princess Auto gloves. It's a bit crooked. This engine might have low compression. That might also be a problem. It usually starts really easily. Sophie's getting kind of old, doesn't want to run. She probably won't follow, but Rocky's up there. He's a puppy. He's not even a year old yet. He likes to run. This motorcycle has only got 4 gears, so it's kind of slow. And we just bought a truckload of fertilizer for all of our hay fields. So this is our field here, and this is Crown land. That land's owned by someone else, and then there's a... Rocky, come here! Come here! Come here! Come here! I usually take Rocky farther down the road, but... And this road goes out to another couple of roads, and there's people living there, and then you keep going, and then that goes to town eventually. So, and then this is the fence. That's our field. That's the neighbor's bush property. And I don't think they do anything with that. So this is our field, and then this is public road through here. The public road ends right around where the fertilizer bags were. But this is we own the land here, but this road is owned by YRB that goes up to our farm. Kill switch was on. Rocky, come here. Rocky. public road starts from here on, and this here is our driveway. Another problem this thing has is it has a hard time going into neutral. That's the other complaint with it. But put that big under there just to make sure it doesn't drip oil. And that's just steam coming off the muffler. So that's the first ride of the year with my Kawasaki motorcycle. I have made very unique because I've modified the back and welded that frame extension on there. And the choke doesn't work. I forgot to say that. The choke doesn't pull out for some reason. Something minor.